What is up, everyone? Happy holidays and welcome to Let's Chat. I'm absolutely thrilled to be your host today because we are diving into a couple topics I am personally very passionate about, sponsored row and communities. For those who don't know me, I'm Kevin Marciano, co-founder of Future Trash, the studio behind the original IP FOAD. We are a small team with roots across gaming and entertainment. We made a full pivot into UGC back in 2023, the moment UEFN was announced, and we have been stoked to be building on this platform alongside this amazing community. We have a lot to cover today, so let's jump right in, and we can kick off with a round of introductions.
So who wants to start? I can start, I guess.
All right.
Yeah, so my name is Shurte Young. I've been using the Unreal Engine since 1999, so it's been a while. I started off with modding Unreal and Unreal Tournament, making levels, so level designer, and got contacts, made friends in the community, etc., and got into the games industry that way. Worked for a range of studios, ran my own indie studio for a while, developed and released 3 of our own games, all Unreal Engine, and then in 2014 came back to Epic and since been involved in many different things. So last couple of years, for example, like the Epic developer community, documentation, the forums, and so on. But most importantly for this conversation today, the Fortnite communities feature that we just launched last week. So that's me.
You have to pick the next person, Shord. I'll go.
Go for it.
Hi, Marcus Wasmer, EVP Development. Currently that just means I'm helping look after both Unreal Engine and UEFN now these days, which is why I'm here. Been at Epic for almost 12 years now. Spent a long time as an engineer on the platform and rendering teams, and even some time on the Verse team. So yeah, welcome everybody. Let's see, let's go Claudia next. Follow my own rule.
So I'm Claudia Page. I am the Director of Product for the Fortnite creator ecosystem. I lead products across the creator journey, including publishing, analytics, IP enablement, and also features that help you acquire players to your islands like Sponsored Row, which we're really excited about having launched. And I've been here for about 4 years now and worked with Marcus and Shord for some time. So I'm just excited to be here, and Andre as well. Andre, why don't you go next?
Hi, folks. I'm Andre. I lead our ecosystem growth team, looking after economy, our integrations with IP holders, and some of our eco-cosmetics programs. And is there anyone? I think that's it.
Was that it? Yeah. Okay, let's get to the questions. So these questions are, sourced from the community, and there's 2 topics. So I think we're going to bounce back and forth. But start kicking it off with sponsored. I think there's a few questions about targeting, and we'll start there. One question was, are there plans to allow region-specific or geofence campaigns to sponsored islands could be promoted differently in certain countries or regions?
Yeah, absolutely. So our Q1 and Q2 roadmaps actually will introduce geo and language filters, which will serve as our first step towards a more structured capabilities around targeting. And we intentionally launched this way, which I think most folks don't understand, but we did that to allow the marketplace to establish a baseline CPM and a performance norm before we could materially influence pricing dynamics with these targeting capabilities. So it was very intentional, and we're going to continue to invest in Sponsored Row and build those features out.
Awesome. Well, the quick follow-up to that would also be for player preference, targeting towards, if you have a tycoon, it doesn't do you much good, being in front of a combat or PvP player.
Yeah, no, we totally agree. Our forward-facing strategy is really based on contextual and content-driven relevance. So we want to ensure that both creators' needs and players' interests are met, while avoiding risks associated with user-level data targeting. So a really important thing for us to mention here is that we will not support demographic targeting. This is a deliberate decision, but as I mentioned, the contextual and content-driven relevance is absolutely something that we'll go after in the coming year and early in H1.
Very cool. And then the third facet to the targeting conversation, Could you target specific devices, so mobile, console, PC, cloud? As the promotion tools evolve, will there be opportunities for device-based targeting?
Yes, absolutely. So again, really focused on bringing out those targeting capabilities while also just maintaining privacy controls. But yeah, that is currently on our roadmap. We'll make it publicly available early next year. So we'll give people clarity around when we plan to roll those features out.
Got it. Got it. There was one question about, the time of day for when the sponsored row starts. And so it's right now, the question was, it starts at 7 p.m. Eastern instead of 12 p.m. Eastern. Could it be better aligned value-wise to the audience time of bidding? It seems like an arbitrary system right now.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely designed that way initially and intentionally. We use UTC time because it keeps everything consistent right now and avoids a lot of headaches. So local time zones can be ambiguous, for example. And so with UTC, a timestamp always means the same thing everywhere, which makes our reporting cleaner and our dashboards more reliable. But we're going to use that foundation. We're going to introduce a faster cadence so that we can actually unlock that and introduce day parting, possibly towards the middle of summer and towards the end of the year. But that day parting will allow you to target very specific times of day. But again, we wanted to be very deliberate about introducing market fluctuation and really help establish the market and make it really affordable for everyone. So that was our goal at the launch, and then we're going to introduce more of that complexity as we go.
Nice. So to clarify, like there will be a system to, for time of bidding during what time you want to bid for during the day.
That's right. And the auction is really not that complex. I mean, it's real time throughout the day. So as your campaign delivers impressions and uses up its daily budget, the system automatically checks which campaigns still have budget and which bids are currently the strongest. So it is a real time system effectively, but we'll continue to make it more complex over time with day parting.
That's great. I think now shifting gears, we could do a few community questions just to mix it up a little bit. This was one question that came in. Are Fortnite communities intended to replace Discord or act as a first-party companion? And if it's the latter, will creators be able to use communities to meaningfully to support their Discords?
I'm gonna give a quick cryptic answer. I think for us it's neither, but for you it could be either of the two. And what I mean with that is I think when we're working on the communities feature, like we're looking at it, as a feature that stands on its own. It's really about building a community solution that, that creates good space to build and have a community. Right now it could use some more features, right? So I think right now it's more of a tool that appends Discord. Discord is also quite different. It's real-time chat. The community that we have for Fortnite now, the feature is a forum, quite different. We're going to keep adding features to the community. And so maybe at some point, maybe it could replace Discord, but I think it's just a decision that you take individually, right? It's just a tool that we're building for you to have in your arsenal as a creator on how you reach your players or how you market your game or how you support your game and all those kind of things. It's a tool, just like Discord is a tool. And I think every tool has its strengths and weaknesses, or everyone has their own preference. So, to kind of recap this, we're not building this specifically to replace Discord or to append Discord. We're just building it as a tool in itself. And I think everyone can figure out what's the best use of it. And I think the key use of it right now especially is that you can reach pretty much 100% of your active player base in-game. And I think that's really key because you can create an announcement that show up directly in-game and so you reach everyone. I think that's really key. So
yeah, that's super exciting. I mean, reducing any amount of friction between the developer and the player is, a huge win. So really excited for this to roll out and for the players to become more accustomed to the communities, for everything from bug reporting to announcements of live events and whatnot. On that topic, actually, will you be allowed to promote giveaways or challenges in communities?
Yeah, this is going to be a short answer. Yes, you're allowed to do that. Yes.
Oh,
yep.
That's really cool. Will players eventually be able to open communities in game instead of just opening the link?
Yes, that's something that we're exploring. We need to see exactly how we're going to do it, but it's our intent to create a much deeper integration. I think So going back to what is the strength and the value, like the key value of this feature, I think the key one is that it's directly there in game. So whatever we can do to strengthen that is obviously good. So strengthening that could be done in, for example, you can access the community overall directly in game, like post and read and just overall engage, and not just on the announcements. So we're exploring doing that. Again, we have to see how we're going to do that, actually, and when that's coming out. That's quite complicated, but we are looking into doing that. And another thing that we want to pursue at some point, again, it's not going to be tomorrow, but it kind of shows the potential of this feature, is because it is in game and because it's all built on like the Epic architecture and the infrastructure, there can be some cool links possible between the two, right? So there must be a world possible where in the community, you can query if a particular player has, for example, finished your game or has like found a secret or has done something cool, and then take this in-game achievement, this in-game thing that they've done, and somehow give them a special status on the community, or vice versa. If the person is a member of your community or has done a lot of activity, they get a special reward in-game, or there must be some cool links you can do between the two. So we definitely want to look into how do we integrate everything even further. Yes, that's what makes this really cool and special, I think. So.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That is exciting. One question from live chat while we're on the topic. Will we get analytics for community, specifically for announcements and highlights? Think of impressions, click-through rate, etc.
Yeah, it's definitely something we want to, build more of, extend, and support. Yeah, it's key, right? You're creating these announcements so people can see, what you're announcing or what's happening or your event or something. So reaching players is key, and then being able to see that you've reached these players, having the analytics for it is key. So definitely that's something. Claudia's a creator portal as well, so maybe you could speak to that one as well.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, well, you'll be able to see all of your aggregated rolled up data into the portal very early in H1, and that's our goal. Ultimately, we want to have like your views, your impressions, the click-throughs and CTR, and your ability to actually see which ones are the most active so that you can action on them from the portal directly, which means that you have that management tool that allows you to kind of govern your community. And active posts, but the community itself is the place where you go to get feedback and engage with your players. And that's, I think, where Shord and I are like really working very closely to build a very cohesive system.
Yeah, super valuable. The exploring community seems to heavily promote top creators right now because it's kind of sorted on follower count. Will it remain that way, or will it have some sort of discovery system, or yeah?
No, I think we're going to explore more there. Like what we have right now is just what we did for the first initial MVP launch, and we went for the the sorting of the biggest community first for launch, because that kind of there wasn't any content yet, there wasn't any activity yet, right? It was kind of difficult to sort by anything else. So simply going by the number of followers a creator has became more default. But I think there too, there's a lot more possible. Indeed, can be, somehow based on your activity, suggest certain things. Can we do it based on actual activity, for example? There's all kinds of other things we can explore there. And that's definitely what we want to do. So we don't get stuck in the existing explore communities feed, right? Because otherwise Epic Games might always be the first one there. And that's not very fair. That's not how we want to do things. So.
Circling back to the giveaway question, will giveaway items be limited to in-game items or V-Bucks, or can you promote off-platform prizes like a gaming PC or something like that?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I have the answer to that right away.
Okay.
I mean, get back
fair.
to that. Yeah.
Let's get back to sponsored. This was another question about like the reach of the sponsored row right now being over the age of 18. Are there plans on expanding visibility of sponsored to players who are under 18, pending the IARC rating is appropriate?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Look, advertising to under 18 audiences is complex everywhere. And so right now the plan is no. That doesn't mean that we won't do it, but if we do it, we're going to do it very deliberately. And I love what Tim said last week, where we did advertising in a very epic way, which was very true. Like this was a very deliberate rollout. We've taken great pains to basically ensure not only product safety, but also the safety of our players.
Right. That makes total sense. Let's go to the next question. What is the reason for the 2-day lead time on submitting bids? Is there anything being done to reduce that?
Yeah, we're definitely going to focus on that in H1. That's also part of our roadmap. We knew that one was going to be a little spicy, but every single time you submit a campaign, it's going through these additional advertising reviews, and so we have to be able to see, because you can make changes to your metadata or your island. We have to be able to contextualize that against our advertising policies. So this is our first pass at it. We understand that it can be a little painful, and not being able to modify your island may be a little painful, but we're going to really focus on detangling those things and making it really easy for folks going forward. And so stay tuned. We'll definitely have more updates on that as the year progresses.
And what about a feature to easily export the data from the campaigns?
Ooh, I love that question. Yeah, so we're actually focused on that everywhere across the portal. So you'll see a lot more of that in terms of being able to download and get to see all of your data anywhere, and making it more accessible and faster, right? And so that's a big focus for next year. We really focused on a lot of the groundwork in the last year. I think the way that I said it at UE Fest with Katie Kendall on our team, and we have new team members who've joined recently, we were on our analytics blitz. We were just going as quickly as possible to get as many tables out there as possible to help you guys understand your audiences really quickly. And we now know that we have all of the baselines in place to help you really understand your audience and retention, and your monetization analytics too. So we're going to continue to grow these things and make them more accessible to you. We want you to be able to take these data points, put them into your own BI tools, have the flexibility around them.
That's great. Yeah, because there's so many valuable pieces and parts of all this data, and being able to contextualize it, was just going to make the game developers' role better and easier and more efficient. Let's see here. Why does pushing an update cancel a campaign? It's normal to be marketing and working on a game at the same time. Publishing and development are often two separate teams.
Yeah, that is a really important question. I just to clarify, when you publish a new version and it cancels your campaign, every update, again, as I mentioned, has to go through that ad policy review. So since gameplay and visuals can change, we just want to make sure that we're still going through it. But ultimately, we're going to make it easier for you to be able to make those changes. We have some plans in place that we're exploring, and we should see changes to that materially in the first part of next year.
Got it. We might have talked about this already, but it just came up in live chat, so maybe some clarification might be helpful.
Sure.
For sponsored row and targeting. Will targeting include lookalikes, targeting players who play X game or follow Y creator?
Oh, great question. So I want to be really clear about what I mentioned earlier around demographic targeting, but it's we're really focused on making sure every decision that we make on our roadmap is really grounded in privacy, regulatory, and compliance requirements. So we will do things that are sophisticated, but we're going to do them in an epic way. And we're going to evolve this product and the auction as well. So you'll see material investments, but I don't want to suggest that we're going to allow lookalikes, for example, in our ecosystem. That's not really planned at the moment.
Okay. I think some questions coming up for the community side of things. Any plans to support push notifications to mobile, to the phone?
Yes, before we go to that, real quick back on the giveaway one, I've pinged someone on that question, haven't heard back yet, hoping to have an answer before the end of the stream. Push notification, yes, notification is a big missing feature right now overall. And we know that's really important because obviously you want to know if someone has said something to you or an announcement was sent or something happened in the community. What we're looking at for early-ish next year is integration in some of the mobile apps that Epic has. And therefore we would be able to do a push notification because the current challenge is that it's a browser. To do a push notification from a browser is difficult, if not impossible, on certain browsers or certain devices. So we're hitting some limits there. So we need to integrate it with one of the apps, and then we can move on to push notifications. So that's definitely on the list.
Nice. Are community forums that have oh, sorry, it's being edited in real time. I'll move to a different question. Do you plan on letting creators upload videos to their communities in the future?
That's on the list as well. We're probably going to start simple, meaning YouTube embed for creators is definitely step one. And then we see like what step 2 and 3 and 4 are. For example, can players embed YouTube videos too in their replies or in their post? That could be nice too. So we'll probably start there. I think uploading actual videos that we're hosting on our end is a lot more complicated. So I'm not sure when we get to that, but at minimum YouTube or Vimeo or, some that type of level of thing. It's definitely something we want to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is back to sponsored row. Why does sponsored row have open slots later in the day when there are valid bids that don't get shown?
So that was a bug, and it's been resolved. Yeah, just the quickest answer, very transparently. It was a bug.
That's great. Why does sponsored row have? Oh no, I just read that one. Why do some sponsored row campaigns stay in sponsored row for over 24 hours? Also sounds like a bug.
They stay in. That's an interesting one. I don't think we've seen any campaign actually go beyond their expected duration. So it's always a daily auction. But if you have a multi-day campaign, you can show up for multiple days. So that's probably the answer there.
I think the question might be referring to I think over that Thanksgiving weekend. I think I think it wasn't rotating or something.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yes, there was an issue there, and it was bug. Listen, this is an entirely new product and surface for us. We got a lot of things right, and then we also had some misses on that release, and we worked really quickly to fix most of them.
Let's see here. Will there be any way to allow players to interact with communities in games? We already talked about that. We are blazing through these questions. That's what happens when you have such an incredible team, who's resolving all these issues so quickly. Why is 10 cents the minimum CPM versus letting the market decide the minimum?
So, sorry, say the part about the minimum again.
Why is 10 cents the minimum CPM versus letting the market decide the minimum?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we wanted to ensure a stable marketplace. That's really it. And we wanted to continue to receive kind of fair value for those impressions as well. So we set a minimum. It's the current floor. We're going to continue to evaluate it as we move forward. But I think based on like the average 7-day bidding history, we're super transparent about what the actual floor and the ceiling looks like on a daily basis, which is something that other advertising tools don't actually do. Again, going back to that epic way of doing things, we really wanted to make sure that people could see what a bid looked like on a daily basis. You can have an informed decision when making a bid. And we're really excited and kind of proud of that. Honestly, like our team and Justin Silverman on the team, like really, hit it out of the park with that one.
Why are there times when there are only 11 tiles?
That was also a bug.
Also a bug?
Yeah, it was a bug, and we've ultimately resolved it. But no, we will continue, and we do continue to serve the daily budget and campaigns as the day progresses now. So it's just been one of those challenging weeks. We've been doing quite a lot, right? Like we've launched communities at the same time as well as sponsored and some other major pushes, working with Andre and the team. So I think we are rolling out as quickly as we can and as safely as we can. And sometimes we run into issues.
The whole team is doing an incredible job. Why? This is actually a spicy one. Why do the tiles not show CCU? What was the decision based around that?
Yeah. I understand why this one's spicy. I get it. And I think like if you're a game that has, high CCU, you want to be able to show that and attract more players. But then there's some games that have no CCU and maybe showing up in Discover and getting in like a sudden surge, which is great. but their campaign may not be in that row long enough. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to test this. And as we continue to test which one actually performs better in terms of player engagement for bidding campaigns, we'll evolve the product. But right now we wanted to make it equal and fair for everyone to appear in that row and have an opportunity to attract players.
Yeah, that makes sense. This one isn't one of the questions, but it was something that I was thinking about this morning when I was, is the intention always to have like dedicated real estate for sponsored row versus perhaps surfacing in other discovery categories to make it feel more organically? I've noticed like the click-through rate for sponsored row is significantly lower than normal, and so it's like maybe the players are becoming accustomed to like not wanting to click in that row. And so like, is there any intention to ever kind of blend sponsored into other categories, or it needs to be very clearly communicated that it's sponsored?
Yeah, so there's kind of two questions there. I think the first question is that there's, will we contextualize advertising anywhere else? We're thinking about it. We're exploring it. We're going to do so, if we ever do, very deliberately. So I'm not going to make a promise that we are. It was very intentional the way that we designed it. And ultimately, we may increase the amount of inventory that we make available. But first, again, establishing the market was really critical to us. So I recognize that right now the CTR is where it is. I think we're going to see some changes over that based on like that reporting bug that we had. So you might see a higher CTR over time. But what I think is also important to call out is that there's a lot of opportunity to test and use best practices before you actually start bidding on a campaign. So using A/B testing or thumbnail testing before you actually invest in a campaign is a really great way to ensure a higher CTR than potentially, just putting a campaign out there without having tested previously. Also, your in-game metrics too will help help you leverage discover better once you get surfaced and you get player engagement on those tiles. So
can you not have a campaign running with an A/B test running at the same time right now? You need to have one thumbnail.
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think we're trying to get a little bit better on that sequencing. All of these kind of products came out at the same time. Yeah. So, well, not in the same time, but within the span of 6 months, right? We had scheduled publishing, A/B testing, and sponsored all kind of coming out. So we will make it easier for you to have those kind of fluid ability to kind of like to test all of your metadata and then like pick a winner and then potentially, make that winning thumbnail your sponsored campaign. But we want to bring all of those products together very deliberately. But it's a good question.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's incredible to have more agency and control over how you test and iterate all of these things, whether it's thumbnail or, game design choices. That's what ultimately is going to allow all of us to make better games for our audience. Let's see. So from the
and just to clarify, I don't think I answered your question, but you can actually run an A/B test while running a campaign. But
okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I just want to add, like, there was part of the question was about like the placement of sponsored row, and then like with what they see in other areas of Discover. Just want to say kind of globally that we want to continue to evolve and tune like how we're surfacing content in Discover. Like, I think the folks have might already seen that we're pushing a great with friends row, and we've been very very open on like here's the KPIs that we're using for that row. So I think the community will continue to see like we're trying to foster social play, try to push, give creators more opportunity for new genres they want to bring into the ecosystem. So I think when it comes to placement, I think the community should really prep that like we will continue to evolve Discover as we have and do more and more experimentation and testing of new ways to surface content, especially when it comes to adjacent genres or again, like this Great with Friends row is such a good example of like wanting to push like a specific style of play that we know our players love.
I totally agree, and I think being transparent about what the metrics to be competitive for any particular discovery category just helps make more informed decisions on it gives you a target on what type of game you want to craft.
Yeah, and that was like kind of our discussion internally on that specifically. It was like, here's our schedule of the KPIs. Like, let's tell everybody what they are, which we did right in our blog. Yeah. So yeah, that'll continue to happen.
That's great. Let's see here from the live chat. Oh, there was something about communities. I feel like I know the answer to this, but for the community, will you be able to schedule community posts in the future? Scheduling tool. Sure.
On the list as well, yes.
On the list.
There's a lot of features that we want to do, and for example, just to talk more widely about this question, like the biggest gap that we have right now is community management features. So that's our current priority. Actually, this week we're doing a number of bug fixes, but also a bunch of polish things. Like for example, images show up kind of weirdly, and very long threads they scroll strangely. So working on that, but also spam reduction, for example. You can't post the same message twice or multiple times. You can't do very empty posts or empty posts flat out. Like there's a number of simple mechanics that we're adding. That's this week. We're also this week adding the ability to read only on a post. So that's nice, I think. The ability to pin post is also coming up. The community community roles is another big one that we want to do. And I think that's the biggest, most requested one. And we knew we needed that one. It's just that we felt it felt very important to hit this release date before Christmas, because this is where most activity happens in Fortnite, just to get the feature out there, because I think the announcement is the biggest value for it. But community roles is definitely a really big thing, right? And community roles meaning you can designate someone in your team to be a moderator or to post announcements, so it's not just one person having to do all of that. Obviously, a nice feature. So that's coming up in January. And so there's a couple of other things, like, for example, can you mute/ban a user in your community? That's a feature we're adding too. So that's kind of priority one. And then, yes, we have a lot of things coming up, including scheduling of posts.
That's all exciting stuff. For the sponsored row, when viewing engagement analytics for your island, have you considered being able to toggle source filtering that shows players that come through from sponsored row versus organic discover?
Yes, you will absolutely see that breakout in Q1, Q2.
That's awesome.
I feel like when there's a question of like, have we considered the analytic, Claudia? I feel like you always have
Yes.
that.
You're like,
we
we're
will
all
have that.
Yeah, it's just when it will come out. But yeah,
yeah, it's so hard to get all of these. The amount of investments we would do if we had unlimited resources is just like incredible to meet the demand that our community really wants. But analytics is like our data is our product, right? So we really care about giving you guys as much information and much transparency and visibility as we can. And it's absolutely planned.
Exciting stuff. Another question for sponsored. What are the top 1 to 2 goals for sponsored row in Q1 next year? It's contextually something you and the team would celebrate as a big win for the ecosystem.
Yeah, I really think that the maybe let's break it down. Like the 2 things I really care about helping the community understand with sponsored is first helping you reach the right audience, right? Like we just talked about that in the context of all the various targeting and filtering questions that you had or the community had. And so things like better targeting and clearer insights, like those things really matter. The second, I think, focus for us is improving the reliability and speed of the data that's coming from sponsored as well. So I think by Q1, I'm hoping the community is going to feel a lot more confident in terms of control and clarity around what they're able to target as part of the product.
Nice. I can say anecdotally, we've been experimenting with the sponsored row and been having really positive results on, kind of resurfacing old games that had a kind of a pulse of a player base, but then, kind of multiplied that out by then resurfacing in other discovery categories. And so we were really thrilled with those results and looking forward to just continuing to experiment and use the tools as best we can.
Yeah, my favorite thing to do is look at like Fortnite GG at the end of the day and see which islands basically were just in sponsored row for as little as 10 minutes and then able, because of their in-island metrics, to really just jump through to other organic distribution as a result of that, gain momentum. Like I get so excited that you have that control now.
Exactly. Yeah. Because in the past, you would push an update and wait and kind of cross your fingers on when it was going to happen. Yeah, for new an update, and now to have that control and that agency and know what analytics or KPIs you're looking to improve, it's a huge step forward.
It's a great way to test your island. I mean, honestly, and revisit islands that you've had on the shelf for a while and like re-engage your players in those communities too. And I think like this, in addition to what we're doing with communities, like those two things really just complement each other really well.
And it's still very democratic in a way. Like a game still has to be good to surface. This isn't like just a competition of UA like in mobile or something where it's just who can outspend the next person. It's really just a kind of an opportunity to get visibility to then surface organically in all the other discovery categories.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not kidding. We see campaigns that just as little as 10 minutes, right? Like can really, as again, having strong in-game metrics really matters, but even being able to test your in-game metrics with sponsored, seeing it like just that spend basically give you that feedback immediately about where like your drop off might be, where you're, where you're having engagement or retention issues. That gives you so much more visibility into being able to have more control and agency over helping to improve your game and then have more success with sponsored the next time or have more success with your next releases. So I mean, we're really excited about the future of this product and potentially exploring different ways to make it goal based. But yeah, at the beginning, and glad to hear that you guys are experimenting with it and finding some success.
Yeah, let's see some more questions flowing in. We are almost through with the questions. I must have read that one. Is the communities feature going to receive in-game support for comments so players don't have we already talked about that, right? Don't have to go to the website. This
it's our intention. We don't have a timeline for it yet, but it's what we want to explore. Yeah.
I think now might be a good time to segue into our other topic, our surprise topic with Marcus, if that sounds good to everyone.
Sure, works for me. I know, not a surprise feature or anything, but yeah, sponsored row communities. I think these will be great features to help you guys reach players and manage your business. But I'm just here to to say that it's also not lost on us that there's been quite a bit of community discussion around stability and iteration times lately and for quite a while. Recently, we've talked to a number of developers face to face and via forums and other channels. I just wanted to kind of give the group an update here on how I personally, as a responsible party here and Epic in general, think about the problem. So first, I just want to say straight out of the gate, like we know we're not doing a good enough job here. I'm here to kind of blow smoke up anybody, but and it's causing a lot of real important problems for developers. But I think that's important to hear from me directly because I'm a developer too. I've been for a long time, and me and the group here have a lot of responsibility for making sure we get this stuff fixed. So when I look at the problem that we have, I think there's kind of two key aspects to stability and quality of life that I think about that need improvement here. One is the player experience side of things. Like your players, in your games. And players are affected for various kinds of bugs. Some stuff that's happened recently is like devices and verse APIs can break from Fortnite release to Fortnite release. Like I think the Accolade device broke pretty recently, which was painful. There can be things like rendering bugs. I think we've had problems with like distance culling. Kind of forever making your meshes go away if they were in scene graph pretty recently. Maybe the worst one when it pops up is persistent data can get corrupted in there. We need Epic to step in and kind of fix things, and that takes time, and it's not great. And then there's the developer experience side of things. This is where important tooling can break on you at a critical moment when you're trying to get a release out for the holidays or anything else. So like first hot reload, live edit features. When these things work, they're awesome. When they don't, it's incredibly painful. Iteration times we know can get long. We see it in the data. So play in client initial time, push changes time have been flat and kind of growing with its project size, and we'd like that number to go down. Editor interactions, have broken recently. We've heard and seen like some quality of life stuff with scene ref interactions where you're clicking on things and the outliner doesn't respond the way that it should to keep you efficient in your work. Or even, templates and APIs can break. I think, recently scene events was kind of a painful one, where that was an experimental feature where we, didn't promise that we were done with the API, but the template was premature and, kind of caused some confusion, which was unnecessary. So I'm saying these because I want people to hear that, like, I know them, we know them, that they're happening, and we need to focus on these things. And I also know you've heard some version of this story before on these streams, so I want to at least list a few concrete things that we're doing. There'll be more, but at least a couple things. So one, we're gonna keep key features on the docket, like custom items, for example, but we are gonna reduce like the total volume of stuff that we're trying to put in every build. Like we're always excited to give the community more things to be able to do more in the ecosystem. But we're gonna turn the dial down on the volume of stuff so that we can uh, spend those resources and that time and effort on stability and iteration times, quality of life issues, and ensuring that the features, that we do have, work reliably, and ones that are coming up have had enough time and effort put into them that you can rely on them. Also, like our automated test suites are going to expand significantly to cover more areas. So, like for example, right now we have a system that before every release goes ahead and cooks thousands of islands to make sure that we catch, cook, and publish problems as early as possible. But there's a lot of things those tests don't do. So we're going to expand those to like connect one or multiple clients to them, see if we can get things to run around and interact to catch more problems at scale. Also, the UEFN team, this has been a relatively small team at Epic. So we're going to bring in reinforcements from the Unreal Engine product, QA, and engineering teams to help on a push here, because what we've observed lately is that breakage isn't limited to quote unquote pure UEFN systems, but rather you can see with like the mesh culling thing, kind of potential problems across the range of expression of Unreal Engine features inside of Fortnite and UEFN islands. So pretty excited about that. Gonna have a little bit of the cavalry coming. And then like aside from bugs and stability, there's the iteration time aspect of things, right? So kindly, a few of you have volunteered to let us use your real projects for our work here, which is greatly appreciated. So so when we're measuring improvements to like iteration times over time, it's really important for us to have one, real use cases at scale, uh, and that are like consistent over time, so we can measure apples to apples and like really make a clean statement about what we've improved. So I really appreciate those in the community who've offered that up. So we're going to be setting up automation suites to just test every single day how fast, excuse me, like push to client cold boot times are, how fast push changes is over time, how fast like booting that island takes, time spent on source control operations in those islands day to day. So just to extend our suite of existing internal tests with more real life use cases, from you guys. I think that'll help us turn the corner here for sure. And on that front, I really do think there's a lot of progress we can make. It's one of the more painful ones. Because we see at Epic, like if we make a concerted effort towards something like that, we make a lot of progress. Like one of my favorite examples is like we've cut Fortnite boot times on mobile in half over the course of this year because we made a concerted effort to do so. I think we can do. We've set a goal for ourselves to at least make a 2x improvement in those iteration times by the middle of the year on our internal test cases and projects that we're working with, and then also setting up like specifically some automation around more extensive testing of live edit and hot reload with, again, like more real use cases from developers who are using those features so we can make sure we're catching real use cases and not just artificial ones. So I'll kind of stop there. I mean, there's a lot of other things we're doing beyond that list, but just wanted to say we hear you. We're working on it, and this is kind of a show don't tell situation, considering we've told before, and we're gonna show this time. So that's not to say I think we're gonna be perfect in the next Fortnite release or the one after that, given the lead time on things, but you will see significant improvement over time. Right, thanks. I guess I don't have Twitch chat open, so if there's questions about that or any other topics, we can kind of take them. /soapbox.
Yeah, let me see what's going on here. And thank you for that message, Marcus. That's really, I know that really means a lot to the entire community. Let's see. Yeah, I guess this is the last opportunity for Q&A. So viewers, if there's anything top of mind you want to ask, now is the time. Oh, there's some typing going on. This one, why do I have to go through a sponsored row for my game to get enough visibility to surface organically when its game metrics suggest it should succeed anyway? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that question.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think is there anything else this group wanted to discuss while we're here? Any last thoughts? Messages?
Just to say, keep the feedback coming. Like
Keep-
like before the live stream on social media here, and our creator feedback programs. Like we, as you can tell from all the folks on this live stream, like we hear all that feedback. And Tim mentioned it at the end of your review that like we rally around that feedback and it really focuses our product development. So keep it coming.
Absolutely. This thing only works if you guys tell us what's going on. So we definitely want to hear it.
Great. Well, on that note, thank you to everyone who submitted their questions, and thank you to the team at Epic. We know these aren't easy problems to solve, and you're doing an incredible job, and we're super grateful. I hope today's chat was helpful and informative to all the developers out there. Keep making great games. If you haven't played our latest game, We're Cooked yet, go check it out. The team at Axis Studio did an insanely great job with it. It's my shameless self-promotion while we're here. But appreciate the time, everyone, and looking forward to seeing what everyone builds.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
See you next time.